Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome on back. Continuing along, of course, our Thursday, not Friday, but Thursday, right here in the Cyber Group Trading Room, streaming across social media, though, Facebook and YouTube Live. Welcome on back, guys, to our afternoon meeting. Let's get a quick sound check just to begin. Probably woke a few of you up right there. Make sure that you guys could all hear me loud and clear. You know what? I'm excited, though. That's why, right? So we've had a hell of a day so far, especially for right before 4th of July. Great to see the whole crew here unanimous. I'm sure loud and clear. Started that one off kind of loud, right? Great to see all of us, though, on YouTube Live and Facebook, like I said, you know, with good reason. We ended up seeing, of course, this GNUS run up, one of many pushes leading into this afternoon. So, you know, we'll start with this. And from that point, what I'd like to go through is just quickly the market. We ended up seeing the market, you know, drop off a little bit after a gap up early on. We'll get to that in a bit. GNUS, though, oh my goodness, we ended up seeing this squeeze up pretty early on. But I want to point out something pretty quick, like Fausto was doing earlier just before in our trading room here. So for all of us joining us here on YouTube and Facebook, really quick, I don't think that anyone in the trading room can see this because it's from a separate computer, separate network. 11:08 Eastern time, Fausto, and you guys, for all of us here in the trading room, you guys see it just from the chat board running live. But at 11:08 Eastern time, you can see Fausto said GNUS looks strong. I'm holding. I was talking about the BYFC trade. We'll get to that maybe. Fausto says, I just averaged up, though. I bring that up because, well, he was holding all throughout the day today. The GNUS trade ended up eventually breaking out higher going into the afternoon, but it was a slow, steady push. You know, it was definitely more of a level 1, level 2-ish trade, as we like to categorize right here in our trading room here. So, you know, the GNUS, we ended up seeing this eventually make a test up to major resistance at 3 at first. There were a couple of huge iceberg orders on the ask. So we ended up seeing the first of those being right off the resistance at 3. Once that broke, you could see it really just took off. So the next major resistance above that, 350, from there, right above there at 4. So, you know, ultimately this came a few cents shy of testing that major resistance. Goes to show, though, really no buying interest at that price. Once this ends up beginning to break under a support level, all bets could be off. This thing ended up just tanking shortly ago. So Fausto closed out this trade pretty much right at the top. He said in our trading room, he was looking to sell around 390. There were a couple of bigger orders, like I'd said. There was a minor one at like 390 or so. And that's what Fausto was pointing out too. He had said, I'm going to sell around 390-ish. So he sold at 392, and the second he sold, sucker ended up just tanking all the way down to like 330-ish. I feel like this will eventually break lower going into the close. Given the range that this stock has from low to high, if it ends up making any sort of bounce, hopefully it would be off 3, and that would be worth watching certainly at that point. All right, so the GNUS trade, just wanted to start off with this, the first of many that we ended up trading going into this afternoon, pretty much all day from market open and market afternoon here. Like I said, though, a couple of others that we ended up doing really well, though, on pretty quick here. The JOB. This one was a little bit more so after the market opened up. You could see the huge squeeze up early in pre-market trading, but you know, most of us were not really available to trade prior to 8 o'clock, right? So you know, we caught this after 8 for a smaller little run up, and then after the open, this thing just was getting halted over and over and over. We weren't really in it for the halts, right? For a stock that's up as much as Job was, we were expecting a pullback. And with this popping right out of the gate, you better believe the pullback's coming shortly after. So, you know, it took its time to do so, but we ended up finding support right off the 175 level, which was pretty much where it had opened up off its first halt. You could see it ended up making a squeeze back up to the high of the day, 250, 249. Another good example, though, really quick here, just goes to show we had major resistance at 250 without there being any sort of buying interest at that price. No wonder why this thing's tanking, right? So, you know, with that said, this is where I expect this to really tank going into the close. Wouldn't be surprised if this ends up closing lower than it had opened up. And with that in mind as well, just, I mean, hey, if it's not going into the close, it's probably going to be coming up Monday morning, right? So the job trade was one more so after the market had opened up, and really well in the NEO trade early on today. I'm still short on this trade, mind you, and maybe I should be getting out at this point with the Dow beginning to squeeze up here. NEO coming off good news. I think it was in relation to their vehicles. I'm going to take a quick look on Benzinga Pro. I'll copy and paste the news across the board here. NEO delivered 3,700 vehicles in June, and that's just, you know, a crazy growth year over year. So I'm going to post that for everybody here. Give me a quick sec. There we go. So with that, NEO ended up making a bit of a pullback at the market open, perhaps with the market, but NEO is coming off of good news, very strong. So whereas the Dow continued to slump off a bit heading into the early afternoon and just flatten out, NEO ended up squeezing back up. You know what? Yeah, let me get out of this short right now. I was thinking about covering my short at 920 right before we started, but I wanted to see if the Dow would end up beginning to slip a bit lower. And it's so far for right now beginning to push up. So with NEO coming off good news, I'm getting out. I was short from 934. It was not to say a counter trend trade, but with this moving up as much as it was and breaking below a big iceberg on the bid, that's where I ended up shorting. It was doing good for a little bit, but like I said, I should have probably covered right off 915 or 920ish. NEO though, hey, heading into the afternoon, this stock trades a lot of volume. I'd say at this point, given the volume the stock is trading today, you can think that it's perhaps exhausted, that it's not going to make as clean of a run up or down going into the end of the day. Perhaps that's why this thing stalled out right off 915 just for a bit. But for right now, yeah, I wouldn't mind just putting this on our main watch list going into the close, at least to begin. If we have like a crazy big list, maybe I'll come back to this and just scratch it off. But this is like a very tradable stock still, very level 1 to 2, shortable too, of course. So if it ends up dropping off, like I'd said, it'd be a good stock to short on the way down, perhaps. But yeah, either way, for right now, NEO will make the cut at least. All right, another one I'd say pretty comparable to NEO in terms of volatility. Plug, PLUG. This one I'm still short on as well. I was talking to all of us here in our trading room just a moment ago saying two stocks I'm still in, NEO and Plug. So, you can see Plug ended up dropping off as soon as the market opened up. I ended up jumping in this a couple of times today. I'm most recently short from the 920 level. 921 is my entry price. I could have gotten out off of 9, and perhaps with the Dow beginning to squeeze up, maybe I just get the hell out right now too. I think for right now, I'm going to stick in on this trade. This stock's been squeezing up very nicely across the last, 2 weeks now at this point. This thing had a huge pop going back into the beginning of the month, ran up pretty much the whole way through. Obviously, some down days, but you could see just, obviously some very big green days, some gaps there in between. So with this, gapping up even further this morning with the market, I thought this would be a great short. It has been so far. I'm hoping that we see continuation. So alongside NEO, maybe I'm kind of biased because these are kind of easier trades, but hey, if we're trying to hit our day's pay or more, I'd rather trade it on an easier stock compared to something that's a lot more difficult to read. So both NEO and Plug for right now both make the list. All right, just at this point right now for myself, obviously I'm still short. I'm hoping that this thing just crashes underneath 9. If the markets begin to pull back a bit, perhaps I'll get that. You can see with the Dow squeezing up here, and Plug hasn't really done so much since. I think Plug is probably just going through a lot more exhaustion than NEO, if anything, especially like I'd said, given the last 2-3 weeks here running up. All right. What else did we go through here, guys? The BYFC. Let's go through that quick. That wasn't the greatest one, but we ended up seeing this squeeze up a bit here. So BYFC ended up essentially making a nice pop, broke out over resistance, huge iceberg at the time, 265. At least with the picture mostly painted right now, you could see at this point though, once it broke that 265, it ended up making a monster move up towards 315. So with good reason, once that seller got filled, this thing ended up running up very nicely. And most importantly, you can actually see as well, strong resistance ended up becoming strong support. So BYFC going into the afternoon, hey, I didn't know if I was going to put this right away on our list, but given the squeeze up going back into mid-June and then dumping back down, of course, it's had a very nice recovery across the last 2 days, but I feel like there could be more on this trade. So for right now, again, another one that we'll add to our list here for the meantime. Out of the three that we're starting off with, I think that this BYFC is the one that I'm most likely to scratch off if we have too big of a list as we begin to go through the gainers and losers here, guys. All right, GNUS, we kind of started off with that to begin. I just got a post here from YouTube. Hey, at this point, I'm not going to put it on our list just yet. Given the range, though, this stock is still very volatile. But just given the run up, though, I don't feel as if it's ready to make a new run back up going into the close. We will check back in with it, though, just by the end of this meeting. All right, so what we'll do, guys, is go right from top to bottom. We went through a job at this point, number 1. We'll go number 2 and below. Oh, whoops. Friend. Was this GRAF to begin? Ooh, nice pop going into the afternoon. obviously, if surprised goes to show that we didn't really trade this one at this point. Our eyes were on the GNUS trade. Our eyes were on a few of these others that we'll go through. But yeah, GRAF ended up making a nice low volume pop from 3 essentially up to 440. With the last pullback here, though, it's not really doing it for me. Bit of a spread, lack of volume on the order book. So yeah, I mean, nice little move here earlier, but for right now, I'll pass. And I'd say even more so given how much the stock ran up from the last few days too. All right, GNUS making a bit of a bounce from, was this 330? 335. All right. We'll come back to it. I wouldn't be surprised if I end up adding that at the end of it all. Fren ended up making a big run up in pre-market. Of course, you heard Fausto talk about this leading into the market open today. He gave his analysis on this trade. So ended up making the run up, but obviously as expected. And I say this just to all of us here in our live trading room, to any one of us on YouTube, Facebook, you guys streaming live. Maybe it's not so common to you, but for a stock that's up 50, 100+% like Fren, like Job, any of these others that we've seen today, that we've seen this week and so forth, they typically pull back at the open. And if they pop right out of the gate, they're going to pull back. I'm telling you. So Fran ended up doing just that. Unfortunately, though, this only ended up making a really small squeeze from like 660-ish support, ended up dumping back down. Again, gap to fill, at least based from the daily chart. Not really a gap, just given the activity from pre-market, but I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up just closing lower. All right, Fran, we'll come back to this probably at some point. I wouldn't be surprised next week, the week after, probably make some low float run up, or at least squeeze up. You know what? To be honest, I don't know the float on Fran. Maybe it's not low float, but at least low volume run up rather. Seed, wow, SEED. I don't know the float on this. My guess is this is probably a low float. Trading about 73,000 shares on average a day, guys. Per day, that's it. So, normally this stock is completely untradeable. If Fausto was doing this meeting, he would probably just scream garbage, and that's it. Just between the run up, it looks good. I feel like this could be a pump and dump type stock. Obviously, it's been steady across the day. I think it's just too illiquid. I don't think that there's enough volume on the order book for me to consider this one. Peter says profit taking on that trade. Yeah, I think so. IDXG, I'm going to go back on the daily chart right away for this one because this one sticks out to me. Yeah, we've seen this stock in the past. I mean, just over the years, not really recently, but just over the years, guys. This stock has been split over and over and over, I'm sure. This is definitely a pump and dump type stock. Definitely trades a lot more volume compared to the last one, though. Spread a little bit tighter. The volume is still kind of light on both sides. Again, I'll come back to this, but again, not really doing it for me just yet. All right. BYFC already on our list, at least for now. Staff will go through a few of these others here. Yeah, not really much doing there. Vuzi's trying to get back up to 3. We ended up seeing this make a really nice pop going into the early afternoon, of course, as you guys could see here. Moved up to 3, pop and drop from 3, and pulled back pretty sharply. I was going to write it off, squeezing back up for right now. I like this one more than the IDXG, I'll tell you. I'll come back to it. See if there's a second wind on that trade by the time we finish up the gainers and losers list here. ARYO, nice move from earlier today. Looks like a short squeeze, though. Ended up running up at least after a huge drop-off across the last year and a half. You've seen this actually here back in November, December here of last year. Squeezed up, dumped back down. Same thing happened across a few days here. But otherwise, obviously ran up here once more. I wouldn't expect this to make a second big move going into the afternoon. So for right now, I'll pass on this at least. CIDM, we got a couple more. This one's doing pretty good. CIDM, at least more of an afternoon run up 20%, really not too much. We've seen obviously a lot more in terms of percent. Cinedigm, I think that, let me see. I'm going to go on the daily chart here. Got the time right now. Yeah, we had the ping on this trade from yesterday. I remember seeing this come up on Benzinga Pro Signals. It was just a new high alert at the time, and I called it out, but it did nothing. And then obviously today, at least this afternoon, ended up making a nice pop. I don't know if it's news related or not. So let me actually just take a quick look, see if there's any other news that came out on this trade, CIDM. Benzinga Pro taking its sweet time here. Hey, all right. Well, Benzinga Pro is not really loading up right now. Let's see if I reload here. Nope, not yet. All right, I'm not going to waste time. Either way, guys, you guys know my deal at this point. I don't really trade off the news. I trade the volume, the trends. So, at this point, we're going to put CIDM definitely on our list. Oh, news just popped up. Let's see. Back from yesterday, Wednesday, CIDM announces 30 seasons. All right. I'm going to post the news here on both the stream for all of us here live on the YouTube, Facebook, and at least for the trading room here. I don't know if this is really the news that's going to pump this stock up 20%. Goes to show that I don't really look into the news as much, guys. But as Bob Ross is pushing the stock up 18.89% right now. All right. Well, either way, for right now, this topped off at 225. There's another order on the ask at 226. So I would expect this to continue to be fairly slow going into the close. At least for right now, we'll keep this on there. Neo, go back to Neo here. I'm happy I got out. This thing's pushing up pretty nicely here. Good. Could have done better, but could have done worse. CLSN here ended up making a nice pop going into the early afternoon, trying to get back up there for right now. Former runner, you could see back going into mid-June, ended up making a few day run up and then dump back down. So we're pretty familiar with this trade, at least for right now. We'll put this on our list. So not CLSN. Someone says here on YouTube, hey, Bob Ross is awesome. Hey, I'm not hating. Pull back the curtain a little bit, guys. I don't know if anyone was just watching Fausto's last webinar. There is a Bob Ross slide in there. There is a picture of Bob Ross. It was more comedic slide than anything. I'll give you a quick hint on who put that slide in. It's me. So I'm a big Bob Ross fan. Carr ended up making a nice pop earlier, dumping back down, though. It is shortable at least. So this one definitely I'll put on our list. This one actually going to be near the middle, near the top for right now, Carr. Look at this, GSX, holy smokes. A little outside the price range here, but new all-time high. That's right, this stock was pushing all-time highs going back into late June, and of course right now squeezing up even higher. So yeah, I mean, hey, we were putting Wayfair on our list yesterday, Square on our list yesterday for the same reasons. Square did pretty good. Wayfair was more of a bust, but for right now, yeah, this GSX is doing pretty good. All right, cool. Got a big list already, guys. What we'll do is just go through a few more and then hop over to the losers list. Time is 2:50 already here. Overstock moving up pretty nicely. It's hard to not put this on our list at this point. All right, guys, if there's anything that's on the gainer side that's up 5-10+% that looks great, let me know. What we'll do is hop over to the losers list here, see if there's anything else otherwise. Bunch of stuff hard to borrow to begin, and really nothing like I&O from yesterday. That was a nice squeeze. The I&O trade, though, got to say, the I&O trade going into the very end of the afternoon, after it squeezed up from our call out, ended up tanking, and then, of course, this morning ended up just opening up much, much lower. MEIP shortable, but not doing it. Yeah, this one either. All right. You know what? We have a big list already at this point, guys. We had a pretty fun day already. I came into today with the mindset just simply of, it's pre-July 4th. Markets close tomorrow. Tomorrow's July 3rd, but of course, observing July 4th. So normally going into these holiday weekends, there's really not that much out there. We've done really well so far, guys. So I'm personally taking a step back, a bit of a deep breath here, and just saying, you know what? Let's just be more selective at this point. So I was considering a couple of these, but for right now, yeah, this one, very low volume. VXRT here down 8%. Made a nice squeeze off the low 710, but looks to be pulling back a bit further. Yeah, we'll pass. All right, guys, if there's anything else up, down, left, right, 5-10+% that you see that's good, let me know. I saw a couple of pings here on FUV. Yeah, wow. I don't know if I skipped over this trade, FUV. Probably did. Yeah, great call. at least given the steady trend, the more recent volume coming in off the pop from 7, we'll look to see if this could re-break above resistance at 7, though, just given the false breakout here. You could see the pop and drop, and most importantly, after, it ended up holding a resistance at that point at 7. So, you know, if this could re-break 7, I think that we get the higher high and hopeful run going into the close. So we'll keep this on our list, or put this on our list now at this point. Good call. From Pat, the EQT trade, steady trend up and slow. I don't like slow at this point, I gotta say. Definitely a great call, though. I mean, very tradable, shortable if it ends up tanking, tight spread, liquid order book. All right, so this is what I was talking about before, guys. It might end up scratching one of these, at least off our list. Maybe that BYFC trade. Or maybe CIDM. Either or, we'll see. No, BYFC just popped 3, actually. That's further reason to keep this on our list for right now. Just re-broke above major resistance at 3, so hopefully now at this point we end up seeing this thing fly. If it ends up pulling back under 3, I'd say at this point it's probably going to dump off. So I'd say this is kind of like one of those make or break situations. For right now, we'll keep this on our list for the meantime. All right, guys, anything else? Going once, twice, 3 times. WKHS from Pat, 2150. Ooh, nice. Yeah, a lot of volume just came in on that trade. All right, cool. So for now, at least, WKHS will add. Ended up popping over 2050, which was holding really nicely, and ended up holding above 2050. It didn't even test the level on the pullback, but hopefully at this point, eventually ends up, if it ends up pulling back, hopefully it ends up beginning to make a higher low, ends up squeezing back up and so forth. But yeah, for right now, we'll put this on. Cool. From Jose, GNUS at 360 at this point, let's say. Yeah, nice recovery. All right, so GNUS will make our list as well. Now I'll do. So how many do we have at this point? It was a traditional Josh 20 stock list here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Normally, I would say 12 is like maxed out list. So at this point, I think that we're good. All right, guys, you know the deal at this point. For anyone tuning in on our live stream on social media, Facebook or YouTube, if you guys would like to learn more about Cyber Trading University, just give a call on the phone number down below. One of our education advisors will just pick up, provide more detail. For all of our students here in our trading room, I have a nice song to close this out with going into the end of the week. So I hope you guys stay tuned. It's a good one. It's well worth the wait. All right, so aside from that, at least, the entertainment's after the close. Let's try and close out the day, close out our week here, as well as we had opened it up. Take care, guys.